everyone, and welcome back to a brand new deck profile here on Double Sleeve. Today we've got a very close friend of ours from the channel. It is Kevin, and he is going to give us a rundown on his top 16 finish playing Zoro at the Melbourne Oceania offline One Piece Regionals. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us today. I think it might be actually the first time you've joined us on this channel for any type of profile, but we obviously want to thank you for your time and for choosing us to obviously bring this out to the light. But yeah, first of all, obviously, take us through obviously the day you chose to run Zoro. Obviously there was, I'm sure people have already seen, there is an absolute sea of red in top 16, and then obviously it was literally 100% red in top 8. So you obviously knew that this was going to be the deck to kind of pilot and take, and you've obviously proven the results. You've got the playmat there as well, showing off the top 32. And yeah, so obviously talk to us about your experience throughout the day. Obviously we had about 330-ish players at the event, but what did you see? What did you kind of come up against, and why did you pick Zoro?
Yeah, so I was on Zoro for a while there, like the online regionals we had. I got 26, and that was Zoro as well, so I was kind of pretty comfortable in the deck. And I saw a lot of the other results. A lot of there weren't actually too many Zoros in other regions, or mainly America. There were a fair few in the other regions, but it was definitely not as red heavy there, and so I wasn't sure whether the Zoro would be the correct pick going forward. So I was tested with Whitebeard a little bit. Didn't really like the play style of it as much. It kind of felt like you either just win the game or you just lose the game. There wasn't like you get those 15 cards and you go, well, I hope these are the cards that are going to win me the game, or I'm screwed. And so I just didn't really like that. I like the consistency and the flexibility of Zoro the most. And I kind of put a bet on with a mate called Nooks, and so we bet a box of whoever finishes better with Zoro will buy the other person. The loser will buy the person a box. We ended up both going X2, and so we called it a draw. So it wasn't it was a good day for both of us in the end. But yeah, going into the event, I expected to verse a lot of Whitebeard and the mirror match, with like a scattering of like green and Doffy being like the sleeper counter to Zoro. So throughout my day, I versed 3 mirror matches, won them all, 2 going second, 1 going first. Beat 2 Doffies. One of them just didn't see the card they needed, and the other one had a couple misplays, and I just capitalized on those. Couple green decks. One of them saw 3 kids, and I saw 3 Atomic Jet pistols, so he wasn't happy about that. But you know, sometimes
that's a game.
The luck is in your favor. So my 2 losses on the day were to my only Whitebeard match. Actually, was in the last round to Anton, who also came top 8. He was playing the mixed variation, and yeah, just if they just see Whitebeard, there's really not much you can do, even with the tech I have in the deck. And then the other loss was to Law on stream, and that was kind of I hadn't had a lot of Law practice, and it was kind of a misunderstanding of how the matchup was. And he just decided that instead of playing the long game, he's just going to kill me, and it turns out he could. So yeah, I was playing the game like, okay, this is going to last another 3 or 4 turns. He's just going to try and grind me out. So I didn't really think about dying, but he just went, "No, you're dead." I was like, "All right, cool. That's good for you." Yeah. So yeah. But other than that, it was a really good day. I put a lot of my practice into obviously the red mirror. So there's a couple choices in here that I guess are for the red mirror, and I kind of tried a few different versions. But yeah, I guess I'll just go through the list and explain some of my thoughts.
Yeah, and you obviously mentioned, you were expecting to see Doffy, and 25% of your matchups were Doffy, actually, so you actually did end up seeing a couple in there, so you obviously would have been happy with the fact that you kind of made that meta call, and then you kind of knew what was going to be there, and that's why you obviously ended up placing the way that you did. So that's actually good insight. Obviously you kind of, I guess, in a sense, read where it was heading based off, I guess, maybe your online presence in the previous regional. And then obviously topped your own personal best, obviously, from 26 to top 16, which is obviously a great feat for yourself. And obviously, congratulations, obviously, jumping into that one. But yeah, obviously, take us through, like, you've mentioned now, that you're kind of comfortable with the deck, you put in some tech choices for the matchups that you had. We all know that One Piece obviously doesn't have any sideboarding, and when you're in the top 16, you do get to play out that best of three. And if anyone wants to see your, I think you were on stream for the top 16 match. Is that right?
Yeah. So I was on top 16 for the top 16 stream. Unfortunately, lost 2-1 to Luffy. It was that was another deck that I was kind of like, okay, it's kind of just playing the mirror, except they're just a slightly better version of you. So I knew going into it was going to be very rough.
Yep.
I'm happy I managed to take it to a game 3. So going first, we both won, and then game 3, he saw 4 Vista, I saw 0, and it was just like one of those moments where it's just like, this is just one
Nothing
piece
you can
where
do.
sometimes it is like your deck just doesn't do what you want to do.
Yep.
But I was really happy with the result. Like I was kind of scared I was just going to go in there and get steamrolled by the previous Treasure Cup winner. So I'm glad I actually
put up a fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And if you want to see that video, guys, it's on TAC's YouTube channel, TAC Games AU. They've got all the matchups from the day that we were streaming on, and Kevin is the first top 16, well, the only top 16 game that's obviously there. But yeah, take us through, Kevin, obviously, with your deck and, like you said, the choices that you made and why you kind of done it. And obviously there's probably going to be a lot of cards that people are already expecting to see, and that, you know, you would assume that are automatic 4 obs or 3 obs in a deck like this. But yeah, take us through the tech choices and everything that you've kind of put into the deck.
So I would say Zidane always playing 4, and Nami always playing 4. So these like this is pretty much the reason you play Zoro, is just the consistency you get with these draw cards. So just quickly, leader effect. If for some reason you've never heard of it, you place a dot underneath your leader, and all your characters get 1k for the turn. So that makes all your winnies pretty easy to swing, and it just gives you the flexibility to be able to just keep up a hand size while having a board of potential attacks, while other decks may not be able to do that. So Zidane, look top 5. I did declare 5 every time I played this card, just to be sure. Look for your 1-drops, and then look top 5 with Nami. Look for your Straw Hat Crew. So the searches mainly, if you want to find off these, I play 3 Sunicune. I have had this at 4. I feel like depending on the meta and the strategy, this fluctuates between 3 and 4. Because I play kind of a go wide strategy where I want to be able to just keep my high hand size up. I don't necessarily, but I most of the time buff Nami with the other effects, less discard, so I don't really need it as much. I'd rather just see other cards that do something on play rather than just that. For a timer, because it's a 2k and you run Jet Pistol in the deck and the timer's correct. For Makino, your other 2k. This card actually you play a surprisingly amount. Just because it has the similar effect as Magura, where you play it, you rest it, and you give something 3k power for the turn. So making your Namis an immediate attacker, making a Magura an immediate attacker is just huge value. And they have to make a choice sometimes. Do I leave the Makino, or do I leave the 1-drop on board? Well, if I leave the Makino, it's not going to be inactive. It's not going to be rested again next turn because there's nothing to buff. But then if he plays a 1-drop, then the turn off, I have to deal with that again. So it just poses a threat. And then 2 Gordon. So I would say that these are always at 4. Just like these are kind of like the flex numbers. I've seen some people run 1 Magura like up to 4. I've seen some people run 0 Gordon up to 4 Gordon.
Yep.
I think 2 is a good number. If this card had counter, I would put it at 4.
Of course.
But sometimes you just don't. You just need the counter in hand.
Yeah.
You just need to be able to defend those early lives against some decks. Whereas if you just see too many of your own cards, you can just get a handful of cards which just don't do anything and can just snowball the game out of your favor. But this in combination with Otama just kills anything in the game pretty much, other than like 10-drop Cardo. But realistically, this I have killed. If you watch on the stream, actually, I used an Otama and a Gordon to kill my opponent's Whitebeard with a Jet Pistol.
Yep.
So I would definitely keep some amount of this in the deck. I think 2 is my preferred number, but I have seen other people do other numbers. 4 Vista. It's the same theory of it's just a body that does something on play. I've seen people flex this number. I like 4 because I was expecting a lot of mirror matches and a lot of green. So I didn't see as much green as I thought, but the fact that you can like you can swing the favor back into you while keeping the pressure on them when you can just remove either their blockers or their searches and not have to invest that attack. So it means you can keep the pressure on, force them to make decisions while keeping their board clear.
Mhm.
So I guess my general playstyle with the deck is it's more board control with poking, I would say, less than it is full on rush. So I prefer to keep their board clear while giving them constant pressure with leader than I do just trying to kill them. Unless it's like sometimes that's the only strat because your hand is 3 rush Zoros and you're like, well, I've got to win now. But yeah, generally I like to keep board control,
Mhm.
and it does really well into the current meta. I own 3 Brook and then 1 Usopp. The only it's actually funny. I couldn't find my 4th Brook for a while there, and so I was like, I'll just play Usopp. It's literally just a 2K counter, it's
Yep.
searchable. It's the exact same.
Yep.
And then I was like, okay, it has some merit into blue. You play this, you put it underneath, and they just feel sad about trying to combo out of your attacks.
Mm.
I didn't do that once because it didn't come up. But if you play into event heavy decks like blue, purple, croc, if you play this and you just put one underneath and you just start swinging, they just get so sad. Like you just get a free card and they can't really do much to remove without investing heavily. And then 3 Nico Robin. So I have seen some versions of the deck which actually cut the Vista and Nico Robin and play more mid range. But if you don't have Nico Robin and Vista, you will automatically lose the mirror. That's my opinion. I just don't think you can fight for board control and have a chance of winning the game if you can't keep their board clear.
Yep.
So yeah, I like these are the numbers, the large numbers they are. 4 Zoro because it's
Self-explanatory. Yeah.
it does what it does very well and is very good at it. And then I play actually 2 of the starter deck Zoro. So in my previous list for the online regional, this was actually 2 Rush Luffy's. But through testing, I found that I just never felt good playing the card unless I was trying to cheese someone for game.
Mhm.
And at that point, if I had this card in my hand the whole game, was cheesing them, it's probably because I needed that to be something else, and I'd kind of just like I've lost momentum, and I'm just like have to win this way.
Yep.
The reason I chose this over just increasing like ratios of like 1-drops is because this is really good into Whitebeard actually. So if you play this, so the general strat is if you're forced to go second against Strawbeard, if they want to go, if they're playing want to go first, if they're using just like the beatdown strat,
Yep.
they're when you're on 6 Don and they're on 5, the strat is you actually, if you can, you play 2 of these and you just pass.
Mhm.
They're gonna on their 7 Don, they are most likely gonna want to play an ace and just try and clear your board. So you can just have these sitting here. You go down to probably you try and defend every life early on against their deck because you don't really care about hand size. They're gonna give you the cards anyway.
Yep.
You stay at a high life total until they play Whitebeard and you have to like actively take the
Yeah.
life because there's no way coming out of it.
Yep.
They're probably on like 2 or 3 life. They play ace. You combo out of the 6K swing, but they can't actually if they've got like a board of like weenies because they play Vistas or they play the Namis. You don't want to give them free cards to clear with their small cards because then you're just losing. So I would actively play 2 Rush Zoros on my 6 Don and not swing with them, even if I could give my leader 1K for for whatever reason. I just would choose not to attack at all that turn and
Mhm.
force them to not get any value from the neg effective ace, just because it felt like that's how I was losing the game.
Yeah.
Because really, the turn they have 7 Don, if they tap out, that is the turn you need to put the maximum pressure on to make them either go down to no cards in hand except for Whitebeard or go down to 0 life. Because if Whitebeard is on 0 life and they tap out to play the 9-drop, there is still a very good chance you can win that game.
Yep.
Just because 1 damage is very easy to do. The reason I chose this over other 3-drops is the effect where it gives itself a power of 1 Don is actually very relevant. So if you put 1 Don under your leader and 1 Don under this Zoro, it is then a 6 and an 8K swing.
Yep.
And so that's 3 cards for 2 Don that Whitebeard has to then ditch from.
And it's also on your opponent's turn as well, right? Having that
Exactly.
Don underneath. Yeah. Bit more defense.
So it's actually harder for them to move. So
Yes.
it's why Law is running some of these now because it's only 1K power, but 6 instead of 5. Because this game is very
5 heavy.
like,
Yeah.
like number based as well. It's like every 1,000 matters a lot.
Mhm.
Like it is very much like every minute decision at the top level is okay. there is a huge difference between swinging for 6 and 7. There's a huge difference between swinging 5 for 6,
Correct.
based on how many cards your opponents have in their hand. And so I tested a lot into Whitebeard just to figure out a strat, because that is one of the deck's hardest matchups. If they see a half decent hand, unless you play it perfectly, you're kind of screwed. They're just gonna defend all your early hits. They're gonna drop their hand because they don't care. They're getting more cards eventually anyway, and they're just gonna keep on attacking you. And so this was the strat I built to beat it. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do the strat in the one game I played against Whitebeard. Didn't verse any others to execute it, but that was the reasoning for including those over anything else. Cool. Moving on. So I only play 3 nougat. Because I play like a board focused build instead of like the strategy I use where I play board focus, a lot of the time I don't feel like I'm really playing for nougat. I'd rather just play my hand out and just have this as like, okay, I have it. I'm gonna play it on 9 because it's a good option. But I found when it was at 4, it was just you're kind of forced into the, okay, I'm defending every hit, and my whole strategy is playing this 3 turns in a row, and I just didn't really like doing that. Like, it's a good strat, don't get me wrong. It's just not my playstyle with the deck. So I think 3 is a good number. But I can understand why people want to run it at 4. 3 jet pistol, kind of the same reasoning as the nougat. I put it at 4, and I just found that sometimes through testing that I just have 2 in hand, and then like unless I'm versing law, like I just never want more than 1 in hand. So I think 3 is a good number, just so I can have as much counter as possible. 2 radical beam.
Yep.
I think 2 is the standard number. This card is busted. I will probably increase this in my next build, and then I run the 1 of Diablo Jambe. So in the future, I'll probably just cut this for another radical beam. This just lets you win games against green that you probably shouldn't win. And having spicy cheese is always fun in your deck. It wasn't relevant at all this weekend because I didn't verse that much green, and if I did, I just didn't see the card.
Yep.
But if they're like a lot of the kid decks, we'll just go to 0 life against you, establish an 8-drop, and go, okay, cool, I never lose now.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have the Atama or Gordon Jet Pistol, you can Diablo Jumbo your leader and just swing in for 14 into their kid. And if they've only got 4 cards in hand at this point, they just can't defend it. And you go, okay, show me another one. If you don't have it, I win the game. Like, you're depending on that kid to survive, and I'm saying I'm removing it. And so just, it gives you an answer to that. And this is huge into black as well. Because I will say that even though black is sort of, like, I feel like this deck is favored into black. If they go Borsalino, you just kind of get depressed. Like, I'm probably winning this game, but it's gonna take me a while just to keep on swinging. And if they just curve out perfectly, it's actually favored for them if they know what they're doing. Just the Diablo Jump is just the one of spice.
And that obviously gave you the freedom to replace the Rush Luffy with the 2 Zoros that you were talking about from the starter deck, right? Because you did have the option to now get past those blockers to cheese out the game, but it's in a more universal way where you don't have to pay 5 to play the Rush Luffy anymore. You can play the one, pay the 1 for Diablo, and it's now all of a sudden, again, like you said, you can swing in for 14 if you want.
Exactly, yeah. Like, a lot of the, I found that when playing Luffy, a lot of the time, you don't necessarily want to attack with it the turn you play it against a lot of decks, because they're just going to remove it immediately. And swinging in for 6 immediately just doesn't feel like it helps the way I play the deck as much as being able to just establish a board. So like a normal turn sequence for me is searching, swinging a couple times, and then playing another card. So I always aim to have at least 2 or 3 cards that can attack next turn. So I never go all out into someone. I'd rather do a couple big attacks, like 2 or 3 big attacks, than I would swing multiple times, unless it's like I'm going for game or they're like in specific instances. But my general strat is have one of these on board, play this out to buff it. Like if I have these 2 on board, instead of giving my leader 1 and then attacking both of these, I would rather give my leader 2, play this, and then just attack
swing with one of the units.
Just the Nami, and then keep these up for 2 next turn, because this is easier to make an attacker without having another card on the board. And so it's just more kind of making the opponent be able not have easier choices
Yep.
while always being able to put pressure on the next turn.
So with your deck here, for the people that don't play Zoro or might be looking to pick up Zoro, we are still obviously almost 2 months away from the next meta. The next set, obviously set 3, at the end of June. What would be the starting hand that you would say in this situation? What would be your ideal starting hand? Like, what is it that you see, at least, this card, for example, and then you're like, all right, I'm not mulliganing anymore. Or if it's like, I don't see X, Y, and Z, I've got to put it all back.
Yep. Honestly, it's just Nami. Now, if you're going first and you see a Nami, any combination of these other cards,
Yep.
unless it's literally like 4 Atamas,
Yeah.
is like a keep. As long as you've got a Nami
Yep.
and a 3-drop, or even a Nami and a Dadan. Like if you've got Nami and some sort of curve,
Yeah.
Nami just will just give you any of these cards, and that's like
Yep.
it just builds your curve out for you.
Yep.
Generally, if I'm versing Law, you really want Vista and Nico Robin. So unless you have one of those in your hand,
Yep.
or your hand is just like cracked, you would generally throw it back and just look for these two, and that's the most important matchup. But otherwise, like, there's no really
No right or
like,
wrong.
I don't really
Yeah.
hard mulligan for anything except for like the Nami and the Dadan.
Yep.
Like if I'm going first and I have a Sunny Kun and a Dadan, I'll keep it.
Yep.
Because you really like, it's just making sure you have a place,
Something to do for, okay. Yep, absolutely. So pretty much what you kind of explained there, then you just want to make sure that every turn you're playing something and you're being impactful with what you've got, and not really, I guess, wasting a turn by, let's say, putting a couple of Don underneath your leader and just swinging for the sake of swinging.
Exactly, yeah. I think that's the worst thing you can do with this deck, is not actually developing anything. Like, it feels rough when your only good turn is to just swing for your leader with 8.
Yeah.
That means, especially in Zoro, because you can play 2 or 3 cards.
Exactly.
You've just done nothing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, they're going to take that life anyway. If I swing for 5, they're probably taking that life.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. You're using 3 Don to do nothing. Yeah, you're just passing a turn virtually. Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. All right. Well, Kevin, obviously, again, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to bring you onto the channel and get your profile. At the time of recording, we are about literally a week away from the Brisbane Regional, but you won't be flying up for that one, I don't think, to put yourself back to the test. But we will be having events coming up like Treasure Cup, and I'm sure we'll be doing more in-person One Piece regional events. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We're getting back into the swing of things with obviously the competitive scene. Leave your comments down below and I'll get Kevin to answer them for you if there's anything that you want to know about how he went, or what his thought process was, or if you would change anything and you want to ask him questions. But yeah, again, Kevin, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to record this one with you. And hopefully, honestly, going forward, we continue to see you on this channel and you continue to get those results, and we can kind of, bring ourselves back to this moment and talk about it and have a laugh. And then, you can get that elusive serialized Luffy.
Chasing the double ways. Hopefully next time. We'll see you at Treasure Cup.
Yeah, perfect. All right, well, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for more content coming through for One Piece going forward, and more commentary from us coming in the next couple of months. But thank you so much, guys. Take care, and hopefully see you in the next one.